Well, trees have always been extremely important for Salt Lake City. From the initial days of its founding, residents of this area realized that trees were going to help make it a more livable place to be. And that's something that hasn't changed today. So these days we're planting 2,000 trees every year to make sure that our urban forest is growing rather than getting smaller in a time when we need it most. Any resident in Salt Lake City that has park strip space along their street that's big enough to accommodate a tree can get one through the city's urban forestry division. They simply need to reach out to us and request a tree. And if we verify that there is enough space, then we'll plant a new tree there for you, usually within the next planting season. And all that the resident has to do from that point on is make sure that these guys get enough water to thrive. It's important to note that these bags are not intended to be your sole water source for your tree. Your sole water source should either be a lawn irrigation system that's dialed in for to provide the adequate water to a tree, or what we like as arborists, we like the old-fashioned hose method, because this way we could turn this hose on, let it water for 5 minutes, 3 times a week, and then at the very end of that we'll fill our bag, and that bag will keep the area around there wet until the next time you water a tree. Here we are. I often tell people, bring your hose out there, put on your favorite song, and let that song play, and when that song's over, it's time to fill your water bag or move on to a second tree if you're fortunate enough to have one of those. But yeah, so we've been watering this tree about a minute, and you'll see that we're not losing any water into the gutter or anything like that right now. It's all going right into the soil and right into that mulch, which is exactly where we want it. What we're doing here, 15 gallons 3 times a week of deep watering for these trees is just what they need. And by doing that, we're making sure that we're not wasting water, because if you give the tree more water that it's going to use, then you've wasted that water. The water goes, into the ground or down the gutter or wherever, and there's just no need to do that. Trees are very efficient. They're very tolerant of difficult growing conditions. A little bit of water is all they need. And pay attention to the tree. If it's starting to look wilted and you haven't watered in a while, you want to get out there and make sure you get some, and then see how that changes the tree's look over the course of a couple of days. This forest that we have is their forest. It's a forest that's been grown by people. And if we want to continue to get the benefits of shade and better air quality, then 5 minutes, 3 times a week makes all the difference in the world. Trees are actually very efficient at using water, much more efficient than we are. And while it's definitely the case in our climate that our trees need supplemental watering, the cost, both in terms of time and in terms of resource dollars, is very reasonable. So we tell people that in the hottest months of the year, you want to water your tree for 5 minutes with a hose 3 times a week. That, in terms of money, a cost of water equates to less than $4 for the whole year of watering. So it's a good value, and what we get in return is cleaner air, more fresh air, and cooler neighborhood temperatures, which is a great return on investment for $4. People can call the Urban Forestry office at 801-972-7818, or they can reach us through the city's website, that's slc.gov.